This is Center Stage, putting your firm in the spotlight by highlighting business owners and other industry experts to help take your firm to the next level. Hey everyone, and welcome to Center Stage. I'm your host, John Henson, and this week, talking about taking control of your firm as opposed to it controlling you. And I know that for a lot of solo and small firm owners, we talk a lot about time, not having enough of it. And one kind of perspective on that is just how much or maybe even a lack of control that you have over your firm and all of the different processes around it. And so to help us out this week and tackle this, I am joined by the founder of Business Culture Advantage and the host of the Profit Minds podcast. That is Dr. Stephen Kirch. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
Awesome. So before we jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is Business Culture Advantage? What it is that you do to help people out?
So I have a PhD in physics, which is a little bit weird for somebody that does what I do. Although process, physicists love process, right? Engineers love process. And I spent 30 years at high tech with a couple of companies that I'm guessing your listeners have heard of. I was at IBM for about 9 years. And then this little company in California, Intel, called me and recruited me to come to California. And I spent close to 22 years at Intel, doing a wide variety of things, always as an engineering manager. But one of the interesting things about Intel as a culture, they require all senior leaders to teach at least 3 classes a year. And early on into my time at Intel, I was offered the opportunity to take the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the Stephen Covey work. And I was transformed. And I knew that the best way to learn something is to teach it. Mm-hmm. So I signed up to be an instructor and became a certified facilitator of the 7 Habits. And I've been doing that now for more than 25 years. Mm. And I loved the transformation that people got in that course and a variety of other courses of that ilk, personal, professional, organizational, effectiveness, leadership, those kinds of things. And so when I retired, I left my corporate gig now 7 years ago. I said, I want to help people do that. And that's when I founded Business Culture Advantage. So I put myself out there as a productivity coach. And the thing that I learned probably better than anything else is that small business owners have absolutely no clue what their time is worth. Mm. Yeah. And look, if I'm trying to sell you as a coach that I'm going to improve the value of your time, and you don't know the starting point and you don't know the ending point, how do you calculate an ROI? You can't do it.
Right.
So while I got clients, I knew I could help more people. Mm-hmm. And so I came across a system of profit growth that allows me to get in front of small business owners and say, I can find $30,000 to $50,000 or more in untapped revenue for any small business in under 45 minutes.
Wow.
That's a pretty bold promise, but
yeah.
In fact, John, it happens, right? The system really works. But now the value of the engagement is quantified. And so I shifted from a thought of productivity improvement to a profit growth. And so I've really I've shifted my emphasis now to the company. Business Culture Advantage still exists. But mm-hmm. Profit Minds is really where I'm emphasizing that profit growth.
Got it. Awesome. So and I know we're going to dive into a couple of elements of that. And I know, your system is a lot bigger than, kind of the one small area we're focusing on today. And so I definitely want you to let people know more about it towards the end here. But, talking today, we mentioned, a lot of business owners are being run by their business rather than them actually running the business, right? And so to you, what does that mean and what does it really look like?
Well, it's interesting because it goes back to the Stephen Covey stuff that I learned, 25 years ago. begin with the end in mind.
Mm.
Um, so this is the way I start with my clients is, where do you want to be in 3 years?
Hmm.
Answer that question first before we talk about your business. Where do you want to be?
Right.
And then, so we're in 2023, so the year's 2026, and and let's finish that sentence.
Right.
Um, and then the next question is, where does your business need to be to support that life that you've dreamed of?
Okay.
Right. So rather than having your life in subservience to the business,
Hmm.
have the business be subservient to your life.
Yeah.
And then, and here's the key question: what do you need to start working on today that'll move you toward that 3-year goal?
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. And talking with some of those solo and small firm owners that we interact with, a lot of them, I think, you know, they they don't think about that sort of end goal, right? They don't, and they just may not ever have one, right? Like they think, okay, well, I'm a law firm owner in a 50,000 person town. I just handle business and that's it. You know, and then there comes all the different things that come with running a business, and then it's just chaos after that. So how do you then address that sort of thing and like start to try to figure out and land on an end goal with someone like that who may just have never even thought about it in those sorts of terms before?
Well, then I mean, we can go back to vision and values, right? And what's your mission? Why do
Mhm.
you exist as a company? What's your purpose? Why do you get out of bed every day? Um, and there's so many things wrapped up in that.
Mhm.
But what and it isn't if it isn't fun, you're not doing it
Right. Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
so again, and I know, right? I've been an entrepreneur, and I know how you can get caught up in the thick of thin things. So the way I work this is, okay, so where does your business need to be in 3 years?
Mhm.
Right. First of all, I mean, what your question sparked a different question in my
Yeah.
mind that I often ask: what's your exit strategy? Right. If you can't think about 3 years, what's your exit strategy? By the way, every small business owner will exit their business.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's in a plain pine box. I mean,
Right. Yeah,
but
exactly.
you will eventually exit. It would be better to have that planned,
Mhm.
and to think about it. So it's, again, beginning with the end in mind, and then we say, okay, what's your vision for the business? I mean, you can do a Jim Collins BHAG if you want, but 3 years is a really good place to aim, because it's far enough out you can imagine some differences in your business, in your life, but it's close enough that you got to get started. And there's
Mhm.
probably some of that stuff that you haven't started yet that it's too late. But
Yeah.
let, then, so once you say, okay, this is where I want to be in 3 years, then I say, okay, where do I need to be in 2 years to get to the 3 years? And where do I need to be at the end of this year? Instead of doing my planning process saying, I want to grow 10% this year because, that's a good number, right?
Yeah.
Build it backwards from that 3 years. And that gives you a very different perspective on what you need to do now. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, and this is a more comprehensive look at life, we talk about what are the 5 to 7 key roles that you play in your life. And this is
Mhm.
not just business now,
Right.
but and for me, I have two in profit minds. I work on my business, I work in my business. So I'm doing business development, but I'm also servicing clients, right?
Mhm.
And teaching coaches, and I do so there's working on and in the business, but I'm very committed to my family. My wife and I will be celebrating 43 years of marriage in a couple of months. I have two wonderful girls, They're making their way in the world. I have, siblings. I, so family is important to me. So I'm a family
Yeah.
man. I'm a musician. I sing,
Mm.
and that's a very important part of my life. I'm an athlete. I'm training now for a half marathon. I've never done a half marathon before.
Mm.
I'm very involved in the Gratitude Network. It's a nonprofit where I'm on the board. That's another role.
Mm.
So go through all of the roles that you play, the important roles that you play in your life. And you should have goals for each of those for the year. But then, as my weekly planning process, and I'm getting to the answer to your question here, just had to lay some
No, you're
groundwork.
good. You're good.
Um, the, how do you move the needle? So if this is where I want to be at the end of the year, so these are my goals and these roles, where do I want to be at the end of the quarter? Break it
Yep.
up as a quarter. People read the 12-week year. I found it really inspirational. You're not committing to these things, these goals forever. It's just for the next 12 weeks.
Yep.
And then what are the one or two most important things to do in that role this week?
Yep.
What's going to move the needle? So, do you have a really important development, like for the Gratitude Network? This week, my most important thing is I'm going to be training some new facilitators, and I got to get that presentation ready. It happens tomorrow. So that was the number one, and I blocked out a big portion of today to work on that. So, but I do important things with my wife. I would a golf outing every week.
Yeah.
We have dinner with friends this weekend. So putting those things on the calendar, making sure that they have as much importance as your business things.
Yeah. And it's great. It's great that you bring all that up, because that ties into an episode that we did a couple of weeks ago around, chunking your time and calendaring things out and making sure that you are, apportioning, time, not just, for things that you have to do in your business, but also making time for the things that are important to you outside of that. And, I mean, we do something similar here at Spotlight Branding in terms of like setting a 3-year picture, where it's like, it's kind of this silly exercise of like, all right, close your eyes. In 3 years, where do you see, or what do you want, or things like that. And you just, I mean, it's a brain dump. It's all the things that you would like to have happen. And then from there, like you said, 2 years, 1 year, your yearly goals can be built around those things that you have set 3 years from now. And it's not that you have to accomplish all of those things in a year. It's about making progress towards the things that you set out to achieve 3 years from now.
Right. And it is about progress, not perfection.
Yes.
It's about making a little step, right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. And the other thing that I emphasize is, look, we don't have to spend a whole lot of time getting the 3-year goals exactly right.
Right.
We need to make sure that they're directionally correct.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise building back. It's to give you a framework for working on today and moving in the correct direction. Look, things are going to change in 6 months. Things, and the life will look different, right? Think about when we were before we headed into the pandemic, right?
Right.
Everything was going wonderfully, and life throws you a curveball. You've got to go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But as long as you're making progress every day, every week, that's the key thing. So many of us get caught up in oh, I didn't do that. Well, what did you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Celebrate what you did.
Absolutely. So, and part of the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and this kind of curtails into what we discussed in our episode last week, when it comes to hiring and the team that you have can absolutely affect, obviously the revenue and the profits that you make and all that. But right now, especially, the job market's really competitive. a lot of smaller businesses are struggling to hire, and not just hire, but also to retain their best employees. So I'm sure you talk about this a lot with the people that you work with. How do you address, either finding the right talent or retaining your best team members?
Well, let's talk about let's talk about hiring, and we'll talk about
Yeah.
retention in a bit. Um, hiring people, you got to ask, what would attract somebody to want to work for you, to want to join your firm, to want to join your organization, your company?
Mm.
What is it about the way you treat your employees? What is it about the culture, the values that are important to you? Um, what is it that would make it a great place to work? That was actually one of the values at Intel, was GPTW, right? Great place to work.
Mm.
Um, and the thing that I think most people, when they go out and they put out a job listing on a job
Yeah.
board, Indeed, or wherever it is you want to put it out there, right? Um, it's very generic. It's, here's the position, here's the duties, here's what we need, right? You got to think about this as a marketing exercise.
Mhm.
What's the problem that you're solving, right? When you market to clients, right? You put out uh, what's the problem that you're solving for them, right? If you're doing your marketing correctly, you're interrupting the conversation that's going on in the head of your prospects. They have a problem they want, that they have but they don't want, and a result that they want but don't have. Right? How do you connect those things? Do the same thing for prospective employees. Right? In
Yeah.
fact, one of my clients, he was struggling. He was putting out job ads on on Indeed, Monster, or whatever, to attract a particular kind of employee. And when we changed it around to emphasize some of the things that were different in his company's working environment, that could make it attractive for the right kind of candidate,
Mhm.
he got several. We were working with recruiting firms that were doing the sort of generic thing.
Yeah.
Um, he put out this new ad on Indeed, and he had like 3 people, and he found a great new employee. But really thinking about what would attract somebody, why would they want to work for you?
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the same thing works for keeping people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that I think about, especially with, and it goes along with what you said, is, when you're making that job post, you're not just having to sell the role. I mean, people know what role they're kind of looking for if they have like a specific skill set. That you need to sell the environment and the place to work and all of that. And one thing that I thought of, and I have no specific answer that I'm looking for or anything like this, is literally just a thought that popped into my head. When you're a business owner, you probably have some things that are important to you and are important for the kind of work environment that you want, right? Maybe you want a foosball table in your office, or maybe you want to have, Hawaiian shirt Fridays or something like that. But maybe those things are not important to people, to, as a selling point to a job. Maybe they think other things are important. Maybe they would prefer like a bring your pet to work day, or maybe they would prefer like some hybrid options or whatever. How do you sort of come find that compromise as a business owner, to where you find perks or benefits or culture related things, environment related things that make your firm attractive to other people, even if it's stuff that you yourself may not think is that important? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I think it does. I can understand where the head is there with the question. I think
Yeah.
um, the advice that I would give is that those outer trappings, like bring your pet, or
Mhm.
the foosball table, or a refrigerator full of, soda, or
Yeah.
Hawaiian shirt, that they're all outer trappings of an internal cultural desire,
Mhm.
right? To be a friendly place. One of the things when I talk to my clients about developing a set of values and being clear on what their values are, the values are really your culture, right?
Yeah.
But you need to describe these values in behavioral terms, not as platitudes. Don't say we have integrity.
Mhm.
I mean, come on, if you're a law firm, you better have
Right.
integrity, right?
Right.
That's sort of table stakes. But what does that look like? How can you tell if somebody's operating out of integrity? You can go back to Dr. Seuss, right? We say what we mean what we say,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes things are even implied, and we take that as seriously as something that's said,
Yeah.
right? That's a way to live out of integrity, right? And it's a descriptor that you can tell. The bringing your pet to work thing, or we have a pet friendly environment. This we support our employees
Mhm.
with more than just a place to work, and we understand that they're complete human beings, and sometimes that involves having a pet, and that pet really important to you. It's part of your family, and so we're a family friendly environment, and you can bring your pets, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we also set up childcare or something, as a part
Yeah.
of that, as a
Yeah.
way of um of emphasizing what does that family friendly company look like.
Yeah.
But I would argue that those are outer trappings. It's a fun place to work. We even have a foosball table, right? If
Right.
that's not your thing, who cares, right? But we've got enough people who like that. What's important to me as a business owner is that people have fun when they come to work,
Right.
right? So look for what's the cultural or the value that's behind that behavior that you can describe,
Yeah.
and then put that out there. Wow, that sounds like a really fun environment. I'd like to be part of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that makes a ton of sense. And look, and here's the thing, like, you're not going to ever make everybody happy 100% of the time. Like, there's just some things that maybe people aren't going to necessarily, they're not going to hate it, but it's also just like, whatever. I'm not like, this doesn't get me excited. I appreciate it, but it is what it is. And that's okay. It's, to your point, it's demonstrating that this is the unique sort of environment that you've created. And as talking about marketing, treating it like a marketing problem, businesses are always trying to find ways to stand out from their
Mhm.
competition. Being able to sort of exemplify and highlight unique elements of the culture that you've created is probably one of, if not the best ways to help you stand out and that sort of marketing angle.
Yeah, and stand out as an employer, not
Right.
just as a service provider,
Yeah.
right? Or not just as a widget maker or whatever it is, right? That you know yes, and hiring people is marketing, right?
Mhm.
Looking for a job is also marketing, right? You have to do the
Right.
same thing, right? It's all about, how do you invoke a transaction, a sale, right? You're selling yourself if you're trying to get hired. You're selling your company if you're trying to hire someone. You're trying to convince them that coming will provide them with value.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then does that work the same way when it comes to retaining people? Like, do you still take that sort of marketing approach when it comes to retaining your team?
Well, it's a little bit nuanced from that, but certainly having people stay aware of the culture and reminding them. I just finished a gig as an interim director of operations at a company where they had employees fill out a thing online every week. Every employee did it. But
Mm.
one of the questions was, where have you seen the values of the company exhibited this week?
Mm.
It kept the values top of mind. And you knew as an employee, I'm going to have to fill this out. I have to keep my eyes open for people demonstrating the values.
Yeah.
Another really good way of helping with retention is having conversations around, what do you like here? What brings you joy? Doing what we call a stay interview. This is different from an evaluation that might happen once a year, right? Where you talk about your development plan and you talk about what you've done well and what the accomplishments were. But this is take an important employee, take an employee out to lunch and say, I want to get some feedback on how you're doing and how you're enjoying working here. What are some things that get in the way of you doing a good job or being happy and satisfied here? What are
Yeah.
some of the things that we do as a company that add to that joy, right? That
Yeah.
bring you joy, that make you happy and effective in your work. Make it about, we really appreciate your contribution. And I want to do everything in my power to encourage you to, and by the way, you don't have to wait for one of these. You can speak up anytime if you see something that you think we could improve.
Yeah.
We're always looking to learn and grow as an organization. We're never going to be set. If you're set in your ways, well, then you're going to lose people.
Yeah.
If you're really truly learning and growing and really open to and really want to retain these employees.
Yeah. And that's something that we see a lot of, especially with, younger generations coming up, is they want to feel like they have some sort of purpose, right? They're not just
Mhm.
there to show up and complete tasks. Like they want to have some sort of voice or feel like they've contributed in kind of a bigger way than just checking off tasks every day.
And this goes back to the mission and vision, which we started with, right? Where are you headed? Why are you in business? What gets you out of bed every day?
Yeah.
And where do you see the impact of your company with not only with your clients and in your community, but with your team, with your employees? How are you making a difference in their lives? Not just by
Yeah.
paying them something,
Yeah.
but giving them that opportunity and giving them that opportunity to have an impact on the clients, on the customers.
Right.
It's all wrapped up together.
Yeah, absolutely. So one other element that I wanted to talk to you about is, it seems like there are a lot of business owners out there who are very reluctant to delegate a lot of different tasks. A lot of business owners talk about they have to wear so many different hats, and there's this reluctance and hesitation to delegate that stuff out, whether they have help on the payroll already or they have vendors that they can work with or not. Um, in your opinion, I mean, is this a mindset thing? Is this a systems issue? Where does this sort of like thing fall, and how do you begin to address it?
Yeah. So the first question, of course, is, what are you good at?
Mhm.
And what do you like doing? Right. In fact, I
Yeah.
was talking to somebody on my podcast earlier this week. And she said the way she discovered this was she just, for a couple of weeks, she tracked all the stuff that she did, and she had two columns: stuff she
Yeah.
liked to do and
Mhm.
stuff that brought joy
Right.
and stuff that didn't.
Yep.
right? So obviously you want to get rid of all of the stuff that doesn't bring you joy.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
And
You're Marie Kondoing your business,
well,
if it,
to some extent, yeah,
yeah.
yes. It's and it's not just business, it's life, right? But
Yeah.
because there are stuff in your life, you don't like mowing the lawn, hire somebody to mow the lawn for, $15 an hour or $20 an hour, whatever, um,
Yeah.
and spend that time with your family. What's that worth?
Yeah.
Um, but so the first question is, what do you like doing? What do you not like doing? All right. And yeah, there's this problem of do you have people you can delegate to? If you don't have any people to delegate to, at least get a fractional virtual assistant.
Yeah.
You've got to do that,
Yes.
right? They're not very expensive. You can find them overseas for $10 an hour kind of thing.
Yep.
And I've had experience that they're pretty competent.
Yes.
The other one that I will say, right? Look, everything in consulting is a 2x2 matrix. I don't know if you've noticed this, but you can lay out everything. So I have a 2x2 matrix about the leader in delegation, right? And that is, what are you good at, and what are you what do you like doing, right? The problem is, if you're good at something and you like doing it, but it doesn't bring a lot of value from a delegation standpoint, that's actually a trap. If it's something that's not very valuable, even if you like it and you're good at it, you probably should delegate it.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, if it's a $10 an hour task and you're doing it,
yeah,
your value is $10 an hour.
Right.
Right. If it's a $100 an hour task, and you could be doing $1,000 an hour tasks, right? If it's a $100 an hour task, you should still probably delegate it.
Yeah.
If you can free up time to do $1,000 an hour task.
Yeah.
Right. So about the leader, about the delegator, right? You have this 2x2 matrix of capable and like doing. And obviously you want to focus on the things that you're good at and like doing. But again, you need to make sure they bring value. If you're not good at it, even if you like doing it, right, you should delegate it.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
If you're not good at it and you don't like it, why haven't you delegated it? Right. That's
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then there's the flip side of this, and that has to do with the person that you're delegating to. And the questions there, are they willing and are they capable? Right? If they're willing and capable, that's an easy delegation thing.
Yeah.
And so the question you have to ask is, why aren't you delegating it? Are you the problem? Right? You have to ask seriously, are they capable? Right? If they're willing and not capable, then you got to teach them.
Yeah.
Right? Either you teach them or you get a mentor for them. Right?
Yeah.
If they're not willing but capable, then you got to ask yourself, why are they not willing? You got to be curious about what's the problem here.
Yeah.
If they're not willing and not capable, find somebody else.
Yeah. Exactly.
So again, everything's a 2x2 matrix. If you break it, if you think about it that way, then delegation becomes a simpler thing. But I would start with what brings you joy, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And try to either eliminate or delegate the stuff that, again, if it's not fun, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. And the one last thing that I'll ask you about this before we wrap up here is a lot of conversations that I've had around this. It's a hesitancy to give up that sort of control, right? Like, for example, like we people delegate their marketing to us, right? But I've had conversations with people where they don't want something with their name on it that they didn't actually create.
Right.
And so, and you could have this, in other different areas, like I don't want someone answering the phone with my name and it's not me. That might be an extreme example. I don't want someone touching my books and knowing all of my financials. I want to keep that private, just different things like that. What do you say to something like that?
Yeah. So there is a mindset piece to this, right? No, very definitely. And that person that you delegate it to is not going to do it exactly the way you would do it.
Yeah.
Get over it. But
yeah.
And they may not do it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Part of this is the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
Right. If they get it 80% right, 90% right, it's probably close enough.
Yeah.
In the final analysis, is it gonna matter? And is it worth that much of your time at $10 an hour to get that last little piece exactly right?
Yeah.
Really, is that the highest and best that you can do? Wouldn't you be much better off in serving your mission?
Right.
Right. The other thing to recognize is they may come up with a different way of doing that's actually better than what you would do.
Yeah.
Right. Particularly in the case of, spotlight branding, where these guys are pros at marketing. Right.
Right.
So they may come up with some things that you would never have thought of.
Right.
And the value of that is not, 80% of what you would have done. It's 100 or 200% of what you would have done, because you would have never have thought of it. So there's a balance there. And again, the real question, and I keep coming back to this, begin with the end in mind. Where are you going? What's the purpose of you doing anything? It's to serve your clients, to make a difference in the world. And if you are doing stuff that somebody else, by the way, could get a great deal of joy out of doing it because that's what they love to do, why not give them that opportunity?
Yeah. One of the big connections that I just made as we're talking about this, it's that subjectivity versus objectivity kind of thing, where it's like, there's so much emotion involved. There's so much attachment to it. And I get it. Like, this is your business. This is your baby. This is the thing that you created and you want it to be absolutely perfect 100% of the time. I totally get it. But I think there needs to be more of a shift into where you put that emotion. And it's like you said, find the things that really do bring you joy and objectively hand off the things that don't. And the differences in what someone else does for you versus how you would have done it are subjective. And I think it's real hard to, truly define if they did it better or you did it better. And really, at the end of the day, you got a result, and you're concentrating on doing what you enjoy doing the most, and that's what's going to reap the most benefits.
Yeah. And I'd be willing to bet that most of the listeners here got into their business not so that they could do sales and marketing, unless they're a marketing company, right?
Right.
They got into business because they love what they do, not all of the other 17 hats, right? The 16 other hats besides the one of serving my clients, serving my customers in my special way.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of all the other 16 hats.
Right. Exactly. So we've really just scratched the surface on so many different rabbit holes that we could go down.
Oh, man.
I do this a lot with other guests, where it's just like, you can have just a huge deep dive into one giant rabbit hole for hours on end. And it always amazes me that people are able to start and run businesses just knowing how many different things there are that you can focus on and improve on and really work at. And so I encourage everyone to check out Profit Minds and definitely Dr. Kirch's podcast and talk about it. So let us know more about Profit Minds and where they could listen to the show and get anything else that you have going on.
Yeah. So the Profit Minds podcast is on all of the major platforms, for sure. And you can check out Profit Minds at profitminds.net, and connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a great way to connect with me and see all of the things that I do. I'm in the process of recasting the Profit Minds website to talk about all of the different aspects of the business. It's not just about profit growth and productivity, but I also, within the last couple of years, through my work at the Gratitude Network, have started doing what I call a business operating system for scale. So really helping those businesses figure out how to scale, how to take their business to the next level. It's based on scaling up the Rockefeller habits, and a great new engagement there. So I'm really, really excited about working with a number of companies. I've taken probably 2 dozen, maybe 3 dozen nonprofits through this scaling program, and I'm also using it with my clients very effectively.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely go check out profitminds.net. Check out some episodes of the Profit Minds podcast as well. Just a ton of great information and really getting deeper into a lot of the different things that we talked about, and really, marketing your business to not just your prospective clients, but your prospective employees and your current employees as well, along with just, delegating and freeing up your time so that your business does not control you as much as it does. Dr. Kirch, one final question for you before we let you go. And that is, if you had one final piece of advice for our audience, what would it be?
So, I said this a number of times. It's begin with the end in mind, but remember, it's progress. It's daily progress. It's weekly progress. And look not at what would be perfection, but if you look back a year ago, what have you accomplished? And I think the last piece that I'll say is be grateful for what you have. Yeah. We have been given so much by our parents, by our teachers, by our environment, by the hard lessons that we've learned. Be grateful.
Yeah. Love it. A great note to end on there. And that will do it for us this week here on Center Stage. If you have not done so yet, please leave a rating and review wherever you are listening to the show. It really helps us out. And that's going to do it. Dr. Kirch, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for listening. To learn more, go to spotlightbranding.com/center stage.